Greetings everyone and welcome to Keeping Up with Papa Life After Work, where we find out how one man manages to keep himself busy, very busy, physically active and mentally engaged after retirement with projects. Today's project, our kitchen garbage can slide is at end of life. It needs to be replaced. Check it out.
Here, you see that plywood plank back then.
Now that's a wobble. Welcome back, and a little bit of backstory for you. Well, we moved into this house some 25 years ago, brand new. We had custom cabinets made, and included in the kitchen were two of these pull-outs for trash cans. Well, after 25 years, they've kind of hit end of life. Well, you just saw the way the one opened. It was a real struggle to get it opened and closed. This is the second one, and it's actually the one that I did first already, and it's what prompted me to decide we needed to have an episode on this. This is after the fact with the new hardware in place. Pulls out nice and smooth, closes nice and smooth, self-closing. Fantastic. Really like it a lot. So why is this worthy of an episode on Keeping Up with Papa? I mean, it should just be plug and play. You pull old one out, unscrew a few screws, put it back in, away you go. Well, it should have been like that, but it wasn't. As with almost everything I do, somehow or another, there was something that happened that caused it to get complicated. Let's get started. Step one, remove the old one. Okay, really is just a few screws. I'm going to save these because I'm probably going to end up reusing a couple of them. At least I did last time. There were 4 screws holding the door. There were 4 screws holding the slide. It's nice having a drill like this that has lights built into it. Four screws out of the way. There's the old one. Rare opportunity to clean underneath the garbage can. I don't know how my wife managed it, but it's not really all that dirty. Wow. Here is everything required from an assembly standpoint. 2 rails, 2 sides, a bottom, a couple of braces, a variety of screws, and I know I'm a little bit strange about this, but I separate all these things out in advance so I can find what I'm looking for. And there's a nice instruction manual, actually is a useful instruction manual, believe it or not, and 2 templates. And these are perfect. They work out really well. That's everything. Both sides are in place. 2 little small screws. There you go. Okay. Brace number 1. Brace number 2 just clips. Yep, right across here. like so. Nice. Okay. That's interesting. That will allow me to tighten that up. The other garbage can was flopping around a lot. By moving this in and out, I can tighten it. It's great. Okay, now the damping rails. There are two of these, and they do have to go in exactly the right direction. And it's kind of, they've thought this through pretty nicely. You see this? That sits right up in there like that, kind of locks in. And then same one on the other side. It's nice and level now. And then you've got two screws, one here and here, that hold the entire assembly in place. This is really pretty quick. Felt the screw drop into place. One down. One to go. There it went. Okay. That's that. Well, so far, everything's going great. Very smooth, right? So now we come to the point where we have a nice template. We put the template down on the floor and the hole in the cabinet, and then we mark where it tells us to mark. Just taking a pen and punching through these holes gives us a mark where we will target our screws here on the brackets built into the unit. Well, it worked fantastic, and that's what I did the first time I put this in. I locked it all down, screwed it in place. Then I went to put the door on, and that's where life got a little complicated. So mounting a door really is very simple. There's some brackets on this end that actually pop right off, and you just put them in place in advance on your door, and then slip them down, drop them down into place, and secure them, and you're done. It's really easy. With one exception. The screws that you use are these screws, which of course would screw right into the thickness of this with no issue at all, right? Not a problem. Not really. Problem is, the way my doors are made, this is extremely thin, and you will see, guess where it hits? Right in the middle of this. I can't run these screws into here because they'll come out on the front, on the other side in this recessed panel. I'll have screws sticking out there. Oh boy, now what do I do? Well, there's almost always some sort of solution, right? So here's what I ended up doing. I needed to make something that went from this point to this point and allow me to screw in here still, because I cannot change the location of the brackets. They're in this soft material right here, or this thin material. So what I ended up doing was going to Ace and buying a thin piece of plywood and laying it down over like so, screwing it in place onto the door, and then I screwed this right into here. Problem solved. In fact, let me show you what it looks like on the other cabinet. So the other cabinet, the door closes nice and flush. You open it up, and back here you see that plywood plate that I put in. No one knows it's there but me. It worked really, really well. Okay, template time. You're going to want this line right here to be dead center on the opening, and you're going to want this flush up against the edge. So how big is my opening? My opening is 13 3/4, so half of 13 3/4 is 6 7/8. All right, so make a mark 6 7/8 in right here. I'll check that from the other direction, see if my math is right. I would say that my math was off, so just a tiny bit, so we'll use that mark. Okay, so that's my center line right there. A little bit of masking tape, painter's tape. Hold this little fella down. You got a little bit of playing room if you make a mistake, but not a whole lot. All right, template's in place, but keep in mind we're going to put a spacer now on the back of the door, so it'll actually move the entire rack back 3/8 of an inch, which is the thickness of the plywood that I'm putting on the back of the door. So I'm going to use the holes as called out, but when I put the rack in place, instead of screwing in on this hole and this hole, I'll move the rack over or backwards one segment, and that ends up being actually absolutely perfect. It works really well. So here we go. Okay, all 8 pilot holes are drilled. Let's move back to the door. Remember I mentioned there are connectors on the back of this that mount to the door, so those have to be removed. And really is also quite simple. And sometimes a handheld screwdriver is just easier. One. And the second. All right. Now is when things get interesting. We're going to put our plywood spacer in place. So really this is warped obviously, and it's not going to make any difference. I just need to make sure I have plenty of room to lock it down here. And it will pull right down. This is not what you would call exceptionally strong material. Just want to get it kind of lined up as best as I can. I'm going to put in 2 screws here. There's my first one. And I actually had these screws left over from when I removed the original rack from the floor. Okay. One down. Get the alignment, as nice as you can. It does not have to be perfect. I do think that the head on this is just about done. It doesn't quite worth the flip. Alright, now I have a backing plate in place, so this can now, here's the line I was worried about. I don't want to be landing in here. This will now land in the same location where it's required to be, but driving screws into 3/8 inch plywood. This should work really well. And so now we put our template in place. So we're slightly under 15 inches. We're 14 7/8. Half of 14 7/8 is 7 1/2, slightly short. So 7 1/2, slightly short, 7 1/2. Slightly short. That's perfect. Okay, so there's my center line. Template here. Already have some tape in hand. Perfect, that's it. Next. Alright, so I'm going to pre-drill, as I did before. And again, I am drilling into the plywood template, not into the door. What I don't want to do is punch too hard through this, because I'll then hit this down here and punch through that as well, and I'll have a hole on the other side. So Just going to get a good start on this. Actually, it didn't bottom out, so that's good. Yeah. Okay. Just curious, I didn't punch through anything, did I? Nope, you look good. All right, all 8 screws are drilled. Remove the template. Let me put these guys in place. And they tell you not to tighten these down because you may need to move this left or right a little bit. I didn't have to on the other ones. It actually worked perfectly. But let's assume that they're correct. And I will snug them up after the fact. This uses a screw with a head with a flat back. Okay. Looks good. Let's get the rack installed. Now my holes are drilled here as mentioned earlier, and I'm going to shift everything back one. So instead of putting it in this hole as the template calls out, which is the 3rd one and the 4th, 5th, 6th, and the 6th one, I'm going to put it in the 2nd one and the 5th one, and that will shift the entire thing in that direction 3/8 of an inch. Just hope I can find my screw holes. Okay, there they are. There. So, kind of hard for you to see, but there's a screw hole. So this is going to go back one set. Hard to get in there. Same thing on this one. Okay, so now I'm set back the thickness of that 3/8 inch plywood board. And I can, in fact, move this out of the way to work. This is going to work great. Time to install the door. I'm going to do my best to make it so you can see this. Theoretically, this will slip right into place. That's why they say don't tighten them yet. One that's not quite far enough. That's actually it. What stops it now is you have to adjust these so it'll drop. You move these out. This is how you get your height on the door. Okay. So you see now that these screws are dropping down. So you can see that I am in fact caught like that. That's because one side of this assembly is higher than the other. So I have several choices. I can raise it up like that, or I can drop the other side, and it kind of depends on the relationship of this here. So if I raise it up, I'm a little above that right there. If I raise up this corner, I think what I want to do is drop this corner down a little bit, and then raise this corner. Okay. See how we look. Well, in relation to that, we look pretty good. Except that I need to raise this corner a little more. That's not bad. Now the question is left and right. Well, I'm too far over here and too far over here. So that's where having these other ones loose, which you can't see now, they're there, and I have them too tight. All right, so I've loosened all 4 of those screws that allow this to shift left and right. And it does, in fact, shift a little bit left and right. Now, not much. That right there now is pretty much perfect. So I now need to tighten those guys back. One more adjustment. Yes, sir, we are in pretty good shape. I'm out a little further than I would like. I wonder why. It's just on the top. No thinking required. It is, in fact, in the instructions, and that's done by the 4 screws that I just over-tightened. So these allow you to correct that angle that I just showed you. All right, it appears there's another screw in there that I wasn't paying close attention to. And there it is, by golly, look at it. You can't see it from here, but there's one here, one here, one here, and one here. Those are used to move this in and out. There you go, much better. One more time. Perfect. One unfortunate problem putting a spacer in causes is that the can doesn't fit as easily. So you have to kind of squeeze it in there. Okay? There's just no other way to say it. So the can won't be coming out a lot. There's bags that go in instead, so that's just fine. Perfect fit. Tighten that up so it doesn't wobble. All right. There you have it. Another project completed. In case anyone is curious, the company I found this card is called Insputer, I-N-S-P-U-T-E-R. Amazon, they were about $55 delivered. Reasonable. Hopefully we get another 25 years out of them. That would be great. Well, thanks again for watching, and please remember to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time on Keeping Up with Papa, Life After Work.